Hello, I'm Simon Owens, and you're listening to The Business of Content, a podcast about how publishers create, distribute, and monetize their digital content. Today we're featuring a musician who's generated millions of views across YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I first discovered Gil Asayas, the musician otherwise known as Glasses, when one of his YouTube videos made it to the front page of Reddit. His amazing keyboard setup and sophisticated musical adaptations of well-known video game soundtracks caught the attention of several gamer subcultures, who then shared his videos widely across social media. Here, for instance, is an excerpt from his rendition of the Super Mario Bros. 2 Overworld theme. I recently sat down with Gil and asked him about how he grew his fan base and in what ways his viral videos have translated into career success. Before we jump into the interview, I want to talk a little about my week thus far. I'm recording this on a Wednesday night. On Monday, I published a 1,200-word article about publishers' strategies launching virtual events. On Tuesday, I published a 1,300-word article about how platforms like Patreon and Substack could impact journalists' salary negotiations. Tonight, I'm uploading this podcast you're listening to right now, and then tomorrow I'm publishing another 1,000-word newsletter diving into Amazon's affiliate payments to publishers. All this is to say that I'm busting my ass each week to deliver you in-depth insights that you won't find anywhere else, insights that will no doubt help you in your career. If you'd like to reward me for all this hard work, consider becoming a paid subscriber at simonowens.substack.com. That's simonowens.substack.com. Please help me pay for the content I'm delivering to you each week for free. Okay, on to my interview with Glasses. Hey Gail, thanks for joining us.
Hey Simon, thanks for having me.
So I'm having you on because I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel, but can you tell me a little bit about your music background before that? Like how would you describe the genre and how did you first get involved in the music scene?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Israel. I started playing classical music as a kid, and I was playing, only classical until I was a teenager. Around the age of 14, I discovered jazz, and I got really into that and started obsessing over it. And after a few years, I got a little tired of that, I guess. Not tired of the music, but just tired of gigging, doing jazz gigs, I guess. And I got into electronic music and indie rock. And I think now I just kind of combine all those things into one.
And would it be fair to say you specialize in playing the piano?
Yeah. Well, I grew up playing violin and piano. After a few years, I ditched the violin. I got tired of it, and I stuck with the piano. So yeah, I play keys and piano right now.
And you said you were doing gigs, so like were you like showing up at bars and stuff like that to play, or what was
Yeah,
that?
this is when I was
like
15, 16, 18. So in Israel, the legal drinking age is 18, so I could start gigging at bars at a pretty young age, and I got involved in the local jazz scenes in Israel, and I was gigging a ton and playing jazz standards, and after a while I got tired of that and I was looking for something else.
And then now you use you have like a really elaborate setup with multiple electric pianos and keyboards and different kinds of sound mixers. I'm getting a little bit out of my depth in terms of explaining it, but
that's correct.
You play like kind of like an ensemble of different instruments and sounds and stuff, and pull together cool beats and stuff like that. And I'll definitely play like a small. I will have played a small excerpt of it during the intro to give people an idea. But that's kind of what you do, is you like mixing and matching different instruments and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd say around maybe 6-7 years ago, I got really into synthesizers and all the different sounds. Basically the endless possibilities, that all the sounds you can create with them. So right now my studio is filled with synths, and I've been creating music with them.
And you moved from Israel to Portland?
Yeah, that is correct.
Uh-huh. And I was looking at your YouTube channel, and it looks like you began uploading videos of yourself playing like 8 years ago. Like, was YouTube the first online platform that you really invested in terms of your music?
Well, at the time when I opened the channel, I had a band, and the band was, my main focus. So the YouTube channel is just kind of a side project where I figured I just upload some videos that I make on my own that don't really fit in with the band style. Um, so I was uploading very occasionally. If you look at the beginning of my channel, I was uploading maybe once or twice a year. So I only started taking it seriously way later.
And what was your initial thinking? Just it was just like kind of like a fun thing to do to upload. Like you weren't really. Were you thinking about?
I was getting into keyboards and synths, and I was trying to make more, I don't know, electronic arrangements as opposed to the band I was in that was more of a rock band. So there wasn't as much room for synthesizers. There was, a little, but there were guitars and drums and bass. So I was creating these solo arrangements, and I didn't really have a platform for them. So that's why I uploaded the video.
And can you recall like when and how your first videos started to take off and find an audience?
Well, the only videos I made that really took off, I'd say, were in 2017. One video of mine went viral on Reddit because T-Pain saw it and commented on it, and the fact that he commented and said that he loved it and that he wants to work with me, that made it blow up.
Uh-huh. So what was the video?
It was one of my solo arrangements. So I started developing this technique where I finger drum. I play the drum beat with my fingers, and I play the keys at the same time. And people got into that. They liked the concept. And T-Pain saw it. He loved it. That video was basically just a solo arrangement, a tune I wrote, and I was testing this vocoder thing, which is kind of um, it sounds kind of like the auto tune thing that T-Pain does, and I guess he liked that. Um, he commented on it, said he loved it. It blew up, and then I made another video right after that, just to try and get T-Pain's attention again, where I took one of his songs. I actually took his NPR concert, just took like a 2-minute snippet of that, and I recorded myself jamming over it. And that one got to the front page of Reddit, went very viral, and those were my videos that really blew up.
And when you say he commented on it, do you mean he like commented on it in the YouTube comment section or somewhere on Reddit? Like,
On Reddit, yeah.
interesting. So someone
Yeah, he's
else,
a pretty active Reddit
huh?
user.
So someone else uploaded it to Reddit. He saw it on Reddit, and that's when he commented.
Well, I uploaded it.
Oh,
I shared it on
oh,
Reddit.
okay.
Wasn't expecting too much because I'd done that before and didn't get that much of a response. But that time, yeah, it worked.
And in terms of like how much traffic that drew, like how much did the video blow up in terms of like views?
Well, the first one, the one he commented on, it wasn't like massive, like millions of views viral, but it was maybe like 100 to 200,000 views, within a day or two. So that was more than I had ever received before. The second one I made, the one where I was jamming on his thing, that one got close to 1 million views within, I'd say 24 hours. Now the thing about it is that it's obviously very exciting. I got a ton of new subscribers, but the internet moves at such a fast pace, and people forget what they saw very quickly as well. So the effects of it didn't last as long as I would have wanted them to.
But did that make you take
That way.
the platform more seriously? Like, is that the point where you started really trying to upload at a more constant pace?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely motivated me, and it got me excited to explore this technique, this drumming technique more. And I was uploading more videos, and at first I could really see the lasting effects of the viral video. I'd get more views, but it was a downwards curve. So that was kind of a bummer at first, but then I realized that that's just the way the internet is. You go viral, that doesn't mean that's it, you've made it. Every video is going to get 1 million views. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So you just have to be consistent and keep uploading, and hopefully it'll grow at a more steady pace, and.
Yeah, and that's an insight a lot of like content creators like talk about how they have the piece that takes off, but then they have to be ready the next day with the next piece over and over again, and then it'll be kind of like those kind of slow slow plateau growth, but then some sudden shots up, but then it kind of returns back, but maybe just a slightly bit higher than it was before, and how you have to keep on kind of repeating, like just with consistency and just kind of slowly growing that audience and hoping for the occasional viral hit, but it's not going to make you overnight, basically. How
Exactly.
did you, so you have like a decent sized following now on like Facebook and Instagram, you post your videos on those platforms as well. How did you end up branching off onto to those?
Well, I was on Facebook, ever since basically Facebook was available. So I was uploading every time I made a video. I'd upload it to Facebook as well as YouTube. And I noticed, some videos do better on Facebook just because the share function is available. So if people like the video, they share it with their friends, it can really take off. As opposed to YouTube, where it's all algorithm based.
And do you notice?
Or, on YouTube, it might be an external link,
Yeah,
like from Reddit, for example.
yeah. Do you notice anything about that? Did anything different about the audiences across these different platforms? Like, will a certain kind of video take off on Facebook that might not do as well on YouTube, or like vice versa?
Yeah, for sure. I think on Facebook, videos that really grab your attention quickly will take off because people are scrolling through their feed. They'll only check out your thing for a few seconds. And if it doesn't grab their attention right away, they're going to move on. On YouTube, that's more of like a TV channel. People are there to actually watch, so they have more patience.
And do you think like your visuals like help you in some ways? Because like if you were just playing on a piano, then it wouldn't be that great a visual. But you have this like huge setup of all these keyboards around you. You have these like multicolored synthesizers and beatboxes and stuff like that. Like, do you think that that kind of, if someone is scrolling through their Facebook feed or something like that, they're like, oh, what is this guy doing?
I think so. I hope so. I love synths, obviously, because they sound great, but also because it's inspiring to me to be in a room full of all these colorful buttons and lights, and I love the feel of it and the look of it. And hopefully, when people see that on their feed, it looks interesting and grabs their attention. Yeah, but some of my more successful videos are just me playing on a piano too. So I think it's more about what I actually play than the look of it.
Do you generate revenue? Like, do you participate with like Facebook and YouTube through like advertising sharing and stuff like that?
I do have AdSense on YouTube. I can maybe buy a few coffees from the money I make there.
Yeah.
It's not. It's I don't get enough views to really make a lot of money from that.
Yeah, and
On Facebook, I don't do it. I didn't know it was even possible.
yeah, on Facebook Watch, I don't know what the exact criteria are, but they now are letting people in based on if you have like a certain level of audience. But so yeah, like in what you're talking about, I've heard from other musicians, like unless you're like, a real mainstream musician who gets millions of views a month, you're just not going to generate enough advertising revenue through YouTube. What about like
Yeah,
brand sponsorships, like video sponsorships? I know you use a lot of gear and stuff like that. Do you develop any relationships on that front?
yeah. I have a lot of gear sponsorships, or they're called endorsements in the music industry. But usually, what it means is that company will send me some of their gear, usually for free, and then I use it in my videos. Sometimes it'll be more of a paid gig, but for the most part, it just means I get free gear, which is cool. And if I like it, I use it.
And I know some YouTubers, they use like affiliate links and stuff like that for their like camera gear and stuff like that. Are you able to do anything like that?
I could, I'm still learning. I still feel like I'm just getting started. So I'm sure there are a lot of things I could do to generate more revenue, and I want to explore them. And yeah, I'm still at the beginning.
So you do something that a lot of musicians do on YouTube where you have a mixture of like well-known pop culture music, like theme songs from video games, and then you have your own original songs. Can you talk a little bit about the strategy there? Like, is the pop culture music, does that like serve as like a gateway to your original stuff?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love video game music because I grew up playing video games. So it felt very natural to me to just start covering video game themes. And I didn't really have a strategy in mind when I was doing it. When I first did it, I just did it because I love the Zelda music. So I just created the Zelda video, and it took off. It got quite a few views on YouTube. And then I realized, people love it. And the people who do, many of them are checking out my original music as well. So I might as well just keep doing this and doing both, basically creating the original music and keep uploading covers as well. And the nice thing about video game music is that it's so diverse. Does it's not just like one genre. It's not like I'm only covering pop songs or hip hop songs or whatever. There's so many different styles within that whole category of video game music. So it's able to kind of scratch that creative itch of mine, and I can really explore all these different genres.
And I guess you get to tap into a lot of different subcultures, so which expands your kind of potential audience. Like I'm guessing, like for instance, there's a huge Zelda subculture who's going to then link to you on the Zelda subreddit, or if you do some other video game, there'll
Yeah,
be some other
yeah,
culture behind that, and they'll kind of find you naturally.
yeah, and that's awesome. I find sometimes the gaming community online, you hear about all these toxic aspects of it, but I haven't encountered that with the music. It's just that people have been nothing but supportive, and a lot of them end up listening to my original music as well and buying my albums, because I think even though it sounds like it would be two very separate things, my original music is very influenced by that kind of stuff as well. The video game, electronic kind of sound. So I think people can dig both.
So the conversion is there. You notice that people will come in through the pop culture stuff and then start sampling your original stuff as well. You'll see a big boost from
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
What are some of the things that like a creator has to keep in mind in terms of copyright? Like are there any songs that you have to stay away from because of that? Like I don't know how I know video games, like they're used to being played by video game vloggers and on Twitch and stuff like that, so they're probably a little bit more loose with that. Is there anything like you have to keep in mind when you're strategizing of which song to create like a riff off of or anything like that?
Well, I think that technically you're not allowed to upload covers to YouTube at all, or Facebook or Instagram, but everyone does it anyway, because to try and obtain a license beforehand, that's almost impossible. And so what happens instead is that you upload the cover, and worst case it'll get copyright claimed, and then the ad revenue will either be split between you and the copyright owner, or all the ad revenue will go to them. But it's still better for me to have the video up there, even if I'm not making any money off of it, because it'll get people to watch my other videos as well. So yeah, technically it's illegal to upload covers,
Huh.
but everyone does it.
Interesting. And like, what's your weekly production schedule like? It seems like you need to set aside time to figure out how a song is played, because I'm guessing you have to kind of reverse engineer whatever the video game music is. But then you have to do the filming, the editing. What's that kind of process like?
Yeah, well, first I create my own arrangement for the tune, which can take a few days to a few weeks sometimes. But I've been trying to streamline the process so I can upload every week, and then I have to practice it so I can actually pull it off, because I play all the stuff live on camera. Then I have to get a good take on camera and edit it and mix the audio, and it's a lot of work. I'd say it's probably somewhere between 30 to 40 hours for every video.
And
I haven't timed it,
and what's the
but it's something like
what's your kind of cadence of releasing videos? Are you trying to release like one a week?
right now I am. Ever since this lockdown started, and I don't have any gigs, so I've been really investing all my time in the videos and trying to create one a week. I know that it's recommended to upload as much as possible on YouTube, but unfortunately, with my kind of content, it's not really possible to do more than one a week without the quality suffering. So, I still want to keep the quality high and just spending a ton of time on every video.
I saw a Spotify link on your YouTube channel. Like, how does a song taking off on YouTube impact its popularity on other streaming services? Like, do you see like a YouTube video that takes off? Does that cause a spike in terms of people either buying your album or streaming it on Spotify? What kind of relationship is there there?
Yeah, but that's assuming the song is on Spotify.
Uh-huh.
Most of my covers I haven't put there, so if I upload the song, if I release a song through a distributor, because that's the only way to get your song on Spotify. You can't just upload it directly. You have to release the song through a distributor, a digital distributor like CD Baby, for example. So if I put it up there and I put a link in the YouTube description, hey, here's the Spotify link to the song you just heard on YouTube, then a lot of people will click on it and listen. But because Spotify, kind of like YouTube, it generates so little revenue that most of the time I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You have to have millions of streams every month to actually make any kind of noticeable amount of money.
So what is your main key performance indicator in terms of like revenue? Like what are you really focused on in terms of like making your living?
So I gig for a living. I tour and I gig, mostly as a sideman. So I play keys with other people. Um, I do some solo tours as well, and with the whole YouTube thing, I hope to eventually make a living doing this primarily, but I still feel very far away from that.
Does your online success transfer into your live performances? Like, are you able to get your followers to show up in person?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So look, that's the good thing about gigging, even though now no one is gigging, but uh, you know, gigging is a good way for musicians to make a living because it's one of the only things that people can't uh, get for free. So they still, if they want to experience the actual live atmosphere, they still have to go out and pay for a ticket. So
Uh-huh.
it's still it's still one of the best ways to make a living as a musician.
So people will show up at your gigs and be like, "Hey, I started following you on YouTube a while back, and I'm a huge fan." Or I started following you on Facebook or Instagram. Like they'll actually kind of give you that verbal feedback.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's very nice to meet the people in person. And usually they become bigger fans once they actually meet you and see you play in front of them. So it's really nice.
And
Having said that, I would love to be able to focus more on the online content, but I feel like I still have to increase my following by, I don't know, tenfold
mhm.
to get there.
And what about like virtual gigging? Like I've been reading all these articles about all these platforms that are now seeing huge spikes in online concerts. Have you been experimenting with that at all?
I haven't actually. It doesn't appeal to me as much. The thing I like about performing is actually feeling the energy of the audience in front of me, and hearing the loud PA and just the whole atmosphere of it. And I don't feel like I'd get that by just streaming myself playing online. So I haven't really experimented with that, but a lot of my friends have, and I know that it has helped them a lot in these times because people will tip and donate money that way. So it's definitely a viable, solution.
So is your strategy now just to continue working on building your online audience and then hoping that once, the quarantines are lifted and you can go back out again and perform, then you'll have like a little bit bigger boost because you have a larger audience to promote your gigs to and stuff like that?
Yeah, pretty much. Just want to grow my YouTube, and I do plan to start a Patreon as well. Been thinking about it for a long time, and I've put it off, but I'm going to do it. And I would love to focus more on on YouTube and less on touring, because even though I love playing live, it can be very draining being on the road a lot. So if I can do this most of the time, that would be awesome.
You launched a Kickstarter, right, to fund an album.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, that actually went really well. It was my first full-length original music album last year, and the Kickstarter was fully funded within 24 hours, and actually doubled its goal. So I got to 200% funding, which was awesome. And I have to, thank the Todd Rundgren community a lot for that, because I play with Todd Rundgren, and they've been following me as well and have been super supportive.
And how did you design the different rewards for what people could get if they contributed?
I looked at other artists and what they were doing and what was working for them, and figured out that it's a lot of people want a physical copy of the album, so I made CDs and T-shirts because people love T-shirts. And then the higher tiers were things like I'll write a ringtone for you, or even like a private concert, things like that. And most of the people just went for the CDs and T-shirts, but a few people bought the other things as well, so that was cool.
So tell me about like where you hope to be, like maybe like 3 years from now. Like let's say you get like a solid 6 months to work just on the YouTube and other social channels. where now you derive most of your income from like paying gigs and stuff like that. How would you like that to be
Yeah.
reversed or turned on its head like 2 or 3 years from now in terms of like what your business looks like?
Yeah, if I could pay the bills just from YouTube, that would be awesome. And then I could tour and gig when I actually really want to or when I have a good reason to, as opposed to, because I have to. That would be my goal.
And when you say like just from YouTube, you mean through like YouTube advertising or by pushing people to Patreon, or does that not matter as much?
Ideally through advertising, so I don't have to. But that's the thing about Patreon. That's why I haven't done it so far. It kind of feels like asking for charity a bit, even though I know it's not. But it's hard for me to do it. But so ideally, if I could make the money just through the ads, that would be awesome. But if Patreon gives me a nice boost, then I'll use it for sure.
Okay, Gil. Well, those were all the questions I had. Where can people find your work online?
I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Just search for Glasses. It's spelled Glassys, and you'll find me. And I don't have really a preferred platform. I guess YouTube would be the preferred one because I can actually make a little money through that. But you're welcome to check me out on any platform you like.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. It's a lot of fun.
Well, thanks, Simon. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks for joining us. I'm actually on the lookout for new guests for this podcast, so if you do interesting stuff in digital content, whether you're a full-time YouTuber, a media executive, or run a cool niche newsletter, definitely reach out. My email address is simonowens@gmail.com. Okay, see you next week.